So right now everybody's talking about Dearborn. I used to be in Dearborn for like 5 or 6 years, and we gave Bibles to Muslims. The Lord just like laid it on my heart because I was talking to Muslims in Kalamazoo area when we did our park ministry, giving out tracts and stuff. I kept running into Muslims of all sorts, and some of them were trying to convert me, and some of them would just argue with me while others were getting saved. So I thought it would be cool to go to Dearborn since there's so many there, that our job as a Christian is to preach the gospel to them. Our job is not to hate them or to, be angry about them being here. We're just here to preach the gospel to the Muslims. So that's what I thought would be best to do. And I packed my bags and moved to Dearborn, and then met, a pastor. And then I was a pastor's wife for a while. But things didn't work out because of substance abuse issues that I didn't know he had. So now I'm a single mom with 7 kids, which is a lot to handle. And I've literally had 10 children. So, but 3 of them didn't make it. They were miscarriages at various stages. And the last one almost literally took me out in 2024. I almost died from the miscarriage. So, not gonna have any more, I don't think. But some of the issues women in America have when you're having children, they're like, have more children, have more children. And I've had as many as I could probably possibly have and still be alive. I'm scared if I have another one, I won't be alive. That's the reality of that. Because I have hemorrhaging or whatever that is. And I had to get surgery and lost so much blood, my heart rate was going too low. So they had to administer life-saving drugs to bring my heart rate back up. So that's really concerning to have anymore. But I lost a baby girl, and that's really difficult because of, everything that happened and the complications. So, and then I'm dealing with the TBI the last 4 years. So I don't feel like making videos. I just don't feel like myself after a TBI. It's getting better every day, but it's been really, really slow recovery. And at one point, I didn't know if I was even going to recover from this. Is my life going to be forever badly handicapped? And now I'm still handicapped, but not as badly handicapped because I'm going through a lot of physical therapy and trying to get better. So we'll see. Hopefully I can get back on my feet and get my life back to where it was before, but I don't know if I can. But we would go and give out Bibles to the Muslims. And when I arrived in Dearborn, I realized a lot of the Muslims don't speak English. And how am I going to give them the gospel without something in Arabic? So I literally prayed, and then within a day, we found 8,000 Arabic Bibles. And then the person that gave us those, that just happened to come into our church and be a speaker that day, said, oh, you need Bibles in Arabic? I have a big stash of 8,000 of them. You can go pick them up tomorrow. So we literally went and picked them up, and we're like, wow, this is amazing. And then there was a couple in Dearborn that had 40,000 more Arabic English Bibles. So we picked those up and we were giving them to the Muslims, happily, and just trying to win them to Christ and make a difference in their lives. I mean, they're here, whether you like it or not, they're here. So we have to try to reach them while they're here because they are not neutral. They're going to keep spreading Islam. You could make them a Christian, and maybe they'll spread Christianity, which a lot of Muslims are getting saved and spreading Christianity, but it's never going to outnumber the rapid immigration that's happened, and they're having children so rapidly. Islam will be dominant if it keeps going in this trajectory. Oh no, I can't talk like Candace. The trajectory that it's taking, then Islam will be dominant in America. And that's a given. And America is not ever going to go back to being less religious. The people that are having children are Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Christians, Muslims, Baptists, Catholics. Those are the people having children. So America is going to become more religious as time goes on. And Jesus said, when he went up to heaven, it's going to be like this when I come back. And when he went to heaven, there was religious wars and everything going on at that time. So, I think we're getting close to the end too. I think we're like, I don't know how far off we are. The man with the highest IQ, the Japanese guy, says he'll give it 10 years. So I'm like, wow, that could be true. We could only have 10 more years here. I don't know. But when you have a TBI, one of the things that's really weird is that time doesn't feel like it's moving like it was before. Time feels like it's super, super slow. So that's been something weird to get used to. So I set an alarm on my phone like every couple hours so I can remind myself like this much time has passed, because you start losing track of time with a TBI. So it's weird, like, but the day is going to come when there's not going to be time at all, is what the Bible says. There will be time no more. And there'll be no more sun, because Jesus is going to be the light in heaven. So that's what we look forward to, that there's going to be a time when there's no more pain, death, suffering. Like, why does God allow suffering? Because it's going to be over at some point, And when I think of losing my baby, Emma, that we were planning on having, it's really sad to lose a baby, but I also think, well, she never had to go through all this pain on earth. She never had to suffer like all of us that have lived on this earth. She got to go straight to heaven. So it's probably better in that way, but obviously sad because we wanted her to be in our family and to be Scylla's baby sister. Scylla's my youngest of 7. But Scylla is like, when I tried to explain it to her, like, you're not going to have a baby sister now because she went to heaven. She's not going to be here with you now. And, she's not going to come home from the hospital after I got back from the surgery. And she goes, oh, you don't need another baby. You got a baby. I'm your baby. So she's very possessive of her mom. Some of my other kids have been possessive of their mom, but not to the level that Scylla is. She's so possessive. I can't even leave the room without her crying. So it's hard to make videos also because of that, because she's constantly on me. And then with the TBI, you have kind of a compromised immune system. Like, every time I turn around, I'm sick again. So we just had fevers for 2 weeks, everybody in the house, and I was sick for 2 weeks. And it just hits you again and again and again with the TBI. So I'm trying different supplements and trying to make it better, but this is something I never thought I'd have to go through. So it's crazy. But the whole thing in Dearborn going down right now is just so wild. It's like, oh my goodness. I'm just in shock and awe as I'm looking at what's going on there. There's white supremacists. There's the Muslims, obviously. And then there's Antifa there. And then there's the Republicans, or maybe alt-right. I don't know if any Republicans are there. Maybe some, but a lot of alt-right people. And then some Christians. It's just wild what's going on there. And it's kind of funny, but it's really wild. But I think the mayor brought it on himself by literally persecuting a Christian and telling him he'll be glad when he leaves town. I mean, that's what brought this on. The way that he treated Ted Barnum, that's what brought this on. And I don't expect things to ever get any better there. That's kind of one reason I left. But the main reason I left Dearborn was that I could not sleep at night. They were sending me threats. One of the Muslims, okay, so we were giving out the Bibles, like I was saying. I got off track. We were giving out the Bibles. We had 40-some thousand Bibles. And then we got up to where we had 90,000 Bibles. I still have 8,000 in my basement because I didn't give them all out before I left. And then a reporter picked up the story, and she was a complete Democrat, just hated me right from the start because I'm Republican. I'm so tired of that. It's so old that Democrats are so hateful to Republicans, but whatever. She hated me from the start. She tried to slander me for giving out Bibles, which is a Christian activity. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. If you claim you're a Christian, you're supposed to give out the Bibles, and you're supposed to give out the gospel, and you're supposed to give out tracts. That has nothing to do with politics. But she took it as a political thing and made a big deal about it. So then I started getting doxxed by Muslims. And they were doxing my address. They were mailing me Qurans. Almost daily, I would open my mailbox and there'd be 2 or 3 Qurans. They were sending me pamphlets. And then they were doxing like my license plate, my address, my phone number. It was so insane. And every day I wake up and it's more threats and more crazy stuff going on there. And then at the same time, I was like losing my spouse to addiction problems. So we needed to separate anyways. So I decided to just leave town. Like, I'm just done with this place. Everybody here is hateful. Everybody here is just toxic and insane. So I'm leaving town. And I left. And my grandpa's wishes before he died was that I leave Dearborn anyways. Because he was worried that I was there and would call me all the time. Like, are you okay? What's going on down there? Because he's heard nothing but bad things about that place. So his kind of last wishes was like leave Dearborn. So it was honoring him too. And life is definitely better out of there. Oh my goodness, is it toxic there for a Christian? And maybe that's the answer. Just move and let the place implode. Instead of fighting with them all the time, maybe move away and let the place implode. But come back and, you know, I still have visited their town, gave them Bibles since moving, but I don't know if it's worth it to live there. Because my kids didn't have any friends, was the other thing. Like, we can't really make friends here. We can't really build our own, you know, network and have our own, you know, social family here. We're kind of trapped. Like, there are still some Christians and, you know, white people there. And black people are nice too. I don't have a problem with them. But it's like, we don't really have a good, you know, we don't have a good support system here. So it was time to go anyways. But it was crazy there. And the harassment, like, just went on and on and on forever. It was like, I can never get away from this. Oh my goodness. Because we're giving out Bibles. They literally tried to file a hate crime, which, you know, a person in the office that was just a regular American was like, well, this isn't a hate crime to give out Bibles. That's just not a crime. So I'm dismissing this. And they threw it out. The Muslims threatened to take my children. They were threatening to rape me. They were threatening to kill me. They were threatening to, you know, do anything that they wanted to do to me when I was in Dearborn. And I was living in like a Jewish area, which was adjacent to Dearborn. I didn't want to live in the actual town because I knew, like, at some point we're probably going to get threats from these people. I don't want to be very close to Dearborn, so I'm going to live on the outside and then just, you know, come in and give them Bibles and talk to them. And we saw some of them get saved. Some accepted Jesus. But others of them are very adamant about keeping everyone Islamic there. So if you go in there as a missionary doing missionary work, you face all sorts of persecution and threats, and they try to hurt you every which way, financially, mentally. It was just like, wow. And then threatening constantly. And like, I was becoming a single mom, so I can't deal with that on top of, you know, losing a spouse and then dealing with threats. Like, this is too much. One thing I'll say, when I was there, I talked to a lot of different Muslim women. Like at the park, I would sit and talk to them for hours and they would talk to me about their situation. A lot of them are in abusive marriages that have just been brought here by some dude that married them or bought them from their family, however you want to say that is. They pay money for their wife, which is weird, which they say is for like support if they divorce or something, but it's suspect because people can honestly just sell their children into marriage so they don't have to deal with them anymore. I feel I'd like to sell, but I would never do that because it's just not right. No, that's not right. So, but some of them will sell their children as early as they can into marriage so that they don't have to deal with them anymore, and so they get the money, and that's really, it's really insane when I think about that. So some of them are actually trapped in really bad marriages and they want out, but they don't have a lot of resources. So I think a positive thing that would really help the situation would be more women's services for domestic violence there. I don't know what there is there. It didn't seem like there was very much help. Like, if there's still women and they're talking to me at the park and they're saying I'm trapped in an abusive marriage, I don't know how to get out of it, then they're not getting enough help there. There needs to be Arabic resources for domestic violence for the women. There needs to be Arabic translators. There needs to be, a women's shelter that can get them out of that, because a lot of them are just trapped in misery by the sounds of it. And I saw personally some of their husbands slapping them around, screaming at them, to the point where it was making me very uncomfortable. And I'm like, should I call police? But they tell you when you're doing, evangelism and stuff, try not to call police and get services involved, because then they might hate Christians. So it just put me in a really awkward spot. But I think sometimes we should just call police because this was bad, really bad. So I think if anything, if I had all the money in the world, I would plant a women's shelter there that has women there that can speak Arabic and that can reach out to the women, because the women are going to be the ones that are more receptive. We found they would accept the Bibles, they would read them, they would talk with us. I had one of them going to church. Yeah, that's probably your best bet, but I don't think anybody is going to change Dearborn completely. They're never going to be able to. And it's just going to keep spreading outward, and Islam's going to keep spreading outward as it has. And we're all worried that this is going to turn into a United Kingdom, and this is really going to affect our rights as Christians. And that's what most people are worried about. How is this going to affect the Christians? Because every time that there's a majority Muslim, the Christians start going through hell and they get persecuted and they can't live a normal life. So I think that's what most people are concerned about here. How is this going to affect our future and our rights and everything like that? And I don't know that America doesn't get taken over by Islam. I can't promise you anything. I don't know. Nobody knows that. So, but I would say being a positive influence as a Christian on those around you is a big part of it. A lot of Christians just sit back and just kind of mind their own business, and they don't reach out to their community enough. That's not a good thing. And then the other part is just vote. I would vote. I'm definitely voting for Mike Rogers, and nobody's going to stop me from getting there. Sometimes it gets discouraging when you have a lot of kids and they're having tantrums. I don't feel like going places. I'm just forget it. I already have a TBI and headaches all the time, and then kids screaming. It's no, but nobody's stopping me from voting for Mike Rogers this time. Nobody's stopping me. Because we can't just let it go, and not even fight for our country after, my grandpa risked his whole life and almost died in the Korean War. Just for us to be okay, and then just give our country to somebody else. This is insane. So I can understand why people are upset and pissed off, and it's just a big mess. It really is.